basically, I'll start. Can you guys see this and hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a 5-week course. Week 1 is literary folk. So we're going to be looking at a few selection of songs that have connection to the literary tradition. And we're going to look at how the literary tradition in Ireland connects with the folk culture. So folk culture is a big, there's a big oral tradition, as I'm sure you know. Oral tradition passing down generations of songs, stories, poems, mythology, and these are passed down and have been for centuries and millennia. And so in the 20th century, we're going to be looking at two particular songs from the folk tradition in the 20th century this evening, and we're going to be looking at how written literature, like print literature, has influenced the folk singing tradition of the 20th century. There are other songs as we go through the course which are older than that, which are more coming from the spoken or sung oral tradition, but it's also useful to see how some things are coming from print and maybe like even into television, media. Certain characters and poets and authors and writers in Ireland had a huge influence on folk culture and popular culture and the overlap of and the definition of, say, folk music or folk song. So the course covers lots of different types of folk music and traditional musics. And so tonight we're just going to look at the first one, which is the literary world. So you might have heard of W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats, a very famous poet and playwright. And we've got Brendan Behan, who is another very, very famous playwright and who actually became a huge celebrity, a television celebrity in the 1960s. So these people, these two men, were notorious in the world of English literature, so English language literature, but their words, their work was deeply Irish and it contributed a lot to this idea of Hiberno English and Hiberno English literature. So this is the English language, but with an Irish flavour, with some um, words used directly coming from the Irish language, the Gaelic language, and other like mythologies and folk idioms and very idiomatic use of the English language, making their way into their work, into their stories, into their poetry, into their playwright, and then ultimately into the songs. So you might know some of these songs. These are two quite popular ones. Um, Down by the Sally Gardens and The Old Triangle. Have you heard of either of those, Terry?
I think Down by the Sally Gardens.
So yeah, we start with this one. This is a very, very popular one. It's actually not that old in terms of the text itself, but we will see that it is based on something a lot older, which again is very much the case in a lot of folk traditions, because folk music, folk cultures, folk song, it's all about using something old, almost like recycling it, bringing it up into a contemporary setting, but that contemporary might be someone in the 18th century, singing something from the 17th century. Then someone in the 19th century does the 18th century thing in a new way. Then someone in the 20th century does it in a new way, and then 21st. So although you're doing it in the 21st century, it's actually started in the 17th century. But it's a line, it's a clean line of influence, it's a clean line of tradition. But tradition needs to be um, bred. It needs to be uh, rejuvenated, to be reused and recycled. So we're going to see this line, and Down by the Sally Gardens is a good example. The Old Triangle is a more original piece, but it as a song has made its way into folk tradition and folk music very, very directly. So Una, would you know The Old Triangle, the song?
I would, yeah, a little bit about it, yeah.
So you probably have heard it sung,
Yeah.
especially around Dublin. It's a very Dublin song. So Dublin is obviously the capital of Ireland. It has the biggest population. So a lot of big Dublin songs end up being very well known across Ireland for a few reasons. Partially because there's so many people in Dublin, and everybody, carries the song. All the Dubliners and people who visit Dublin get exposure to the Dublin folk songs, but also because television, radio, and media is Dublin centric. So big Dublin songs tend to be put on the TV and they tend to be put on the radio because the Dublin people are making the radio and they're making the TV. So it's an interesting way about how folk culture can be centralized and can be certain types of songs, certain ideas, certain traditions can be promoted and propagated more so than maybe like the rural west coast of Ireland songs. So that's a little bit of an introduction. Um, though these are not strictly traditional, as in they are 20th century, and they are, we still know the author, and the author still enjoys the rights of these songs, if you know what I mean, in terms of copyright. Both of these songs have been embraced by singers and musicians as part of the folk process. So can I ask you, Terry, what part of Ireland, you said you're Irish?
Oh, yes. So my family's last name is Killalay.
Oh yeah, okay.
I believe that they lived near Killarney.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to trace it. It was kind of difficult. That name wasn't. It was a little bit hard to trace. It wasn't as common as some of the others. But I did connect with one individual who I think is an elected official in that area. I didn't speak to them personally, but I kind of made that connection. And certainly, if I go back, I can kind of revisit that a bit. But we took we took the Grand Iberian, that train, all through the country.
Mm-hmm.
We just couldn't go north
Okay.
because they were having some Brexit rallies and demonstrations and things, so we didn't go.
Oh, so it was within the past few years, was it?
It was just last year. Was it last year we went?
Oh, okay,
It
okay.
was last year. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, like, with this COVID thing. Actually, I guess it was not this summer, but the one before. Yeah, it was
Okay, okay.
2019. Yeah. And then we
And
also,
was it July?
yes, I think it was July. And then my daughter she studied in Cork for the entire summer.
Oh, wow.
So we
Okay.
went and met her, and then we traveled.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, because in July in Northern Ireland, there are a lot of parades, and it's to do with the British Unionist Protestant culture in cities like Belfast and Derry, where sometimes they can spill over into kind of a little bit of, a bit of trouble on the streets. So generally, like big tour groups might not go into Belfast or Derry on a day where there are parades taking place, just in case the roads get blocked and things. So that's probably what was happening.
Hmm.
But yeah, we'll move on. Oh, sorry, just to let you know, Mountjoy Prison. This is a big prison in Dublin, and actually we'll find out more about how this connects into the old triangle when we look at it. But that's just to give you an idea. It's a big Victorian prison there. So we're going to start with Down by the Sally Gardens. So W.B. Yeats's poem, the original poem, was published in 1889, and it was actually titled An Old Song Resung. So it wasn't called Down by the Sally Gardens, but that's what it became known as it was sung and as it was set to lots of different accompaniments and in musical settings. As is often the way with folk songs, you start with, and same thing with hymns, with church music, you start with the first line and you just call it by the first line. So the opening line became what it was known, although the original poem was an old song resung. So we see it here. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. Is this familiar to you? So I'm actually going to sing it to you just to give you the melody, right?
Okay.
So it goes down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid a snow white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the wheels. But I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears. So you can hear the structure, and it's actually very directly influenced, obviously, by the poetry. And we've got here, down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet. And you heard the melody is the exact same. So it's like A, then A. Then we've got our B. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. And then it goes back to A. But I, being young and foolish, would not agree. So it's actually very, very simple. Now, the text is also very simple, very simplistic, and quite juvenile. And I think that's one of the reasons where the poet's voice, the author's voice is so strong coming through in this. We can talk a little bit about the lyrics and the meaning of them, but we'll come back to them as we sing it. So I just want to show you a little bit about the song itself. So W.B. Yeats, born in 1865, and he died in 1939. The poem was published in 1889, An Old Song We Sung. And the lyric of it was influenced by an old traditional folk song, which was very prominent in 19th century Ulster. So Ulster, you might know, is the northern province, the northern quarter of Ireland. So Ireland has 4 provinces. In the north, you've got Ulster. In the south, where Kerry and Killarney is, that's Munster. In the east, that's where Dublin is, that's Leinster. And then on the west coast, where you've got Galway, Mayo, Connemara, that's Connacht. So Ulster, Munster, Leinster, and Connacht. And this song was very prominent in Ulster, in the northern part. In the 19th century, it was a very, very popular song. And the lyrics were, down by yon flowery garden, my love and I, we first did meet. I took her in my arms, and to her I gave kisses sweet. She bade me take life easy, just as the leaves fall from the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with my darling did not agree. So you can see that it's directly lifted from this song. And this song, as I said, was very popular. So actually, with W.B. Yeats, what he was writing was not new. It was not original in any sense. It was actually borrowing from the tradition and this 19th century song. So taking something familiar, repackaging it, restructuring it into this new song. And we have here the symbol. If we go back to this, you've got the Sally Gardens. The Sally Gardens comes from this idea of the Crann Sailach. Now, Crann in Ireland, in Irish, in the Gaelic language, Crann means tree. So Crann Sailach is the willow tree. And a willow garden in folklore, in literary symbolism, the willow is a symbol of grief, the weeping willow. The willow really encapsulates this idea of this sadness and sorrow and grief. So if you go back here, we go, down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. So my love and I, we met in this sorrowful place. And then if you look at the last 2 lines, but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears, we can see that actually, okay, I understand why this poem is set in a willow garden, in the Sally Gardens, because it's this metaphor for sorrow. Maybe the memory itself is a grieving one, it's a mournful memory. So we look at a little bit deeper at the song and the lyric, we can actually see, very clearly how the place, the setting, the Sally Gardens, the title is actually, very important to the meaning of the song. So Crann Sala, it's interesting that you have to know a little bit about the Irish language to actually get that reference. Um, and it's nice, it gives you that extra layer. So the melody itself was set to the text. So that there was originally a poem, 1889, and then it was set as a melody using an air, which is sort of a traditional air, would be a traditional melody of a song called The Maids of Mournshore. Da, 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 da. So it was just an instrumental, it was just a melody, there was no song set to it before. And George Petrie set the text of W.B. Yeats to this melody as it worked. It worked together. The meter, the rhythm, the whole thing, he put it together. And since then, there have been several arrangements. So most notably, maybe highest profile was Benjamin Britten, the classical composer and arranger. Britten set this in a very, very well-known, very beautiful version for piano and voice, like chamber music. And then Clannad and Kathy Jordan and Shimi O'Dowd, they have a few versions, which I am going to actually send you as part of this. So excuse Michael here, he's just getting the microphone. So
Hola.
this is Terry, is in Orange County.
Ah, brilliant, Terry.
Michael lived in, I was telling you, in LA.
Oh,
Lovely
hi,
to meet you,
Michael.
Terry.
You too.
So I'm gonna.
That's a spare one.
Mm-hmm.
This is a spare cable. You're hooked up, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
hooked up.
Terry. We did move some stuff around earlier. Terry and Una. So. Oh. So you got two cables in here. I don't take the one that you're using.
Okay.
Is this the loose one?
Mm-hmm. That's it. So we're going to go back and I'm going to actually sing the song, and line by line actually it would be useful, it would be helpful.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
I just have a
go
quick
ahead.
question. So when you said the use of the term air, is that kind of synonymous with a hymn tune?
Yeah, I think the same words were used, and actually, interestingly, when thinking about airs and hymns, a lot of hymns came from traditional music, traditional airs that were common in the area. So, say it was a particular part of rural Kerry, and there was a folk song that was very well known there. When the Catholic Church came in, they had a text, and they would set that text, the holy text, the scripture text, to the local folk song, so that people would start singing more of the religious text than the folk song. And it kind of helped because it was already popular. So actually you would see a lot of that, you'd see in a lot of religious books and hymn books, you'd see air and then the name of the air, and then you'd see the text would be like, John 53, whatever it would be. So yeah, that's and there's actually a really good example of that. It's a song called Banks of the Bann, which is a folk song known very much in Ulster, and I'm just going to sing it for you. You might recognize this hymn, right? If I can just get it in my mind right now. First, let me just close the door and sing it to you. So, I'll sing you one verse. When first to this country a stranger I came, I met with affection a girl that was young. She was young and tender, her waist small and slender. Kind nature had formed her for my overthrow.
Yeah, so we have the song that comes to mind with that is "Be Thou My Vision."
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's that the melody from that song is just as old or maybe slightly older than the song. Because Be Thou My Vision, I mean, I grew up singing that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very well known. But that song and that story, it could have been such that the air came first, maybe as a tradition, maybe as a sort of instrumental, and then it was used for certain songs, certain folk songs that were written by poets at the time, and then it was adopted into the church with "Be Thou My Vision, O Lord of the," and then maybe I don't know at the same time or 50 years later, another text was added to it because folk music is always being borrowed, it's always being developed and expanded and experimented. So, um, I think that's actually part of the process. So yeah, the air is just the melody, and again, it pops up everywhere.
Mhm.
So let's go. I was singing that in F. We can take it in the D. So down by the. So this is very simple. There's only two like forms. There's only two lines. First
So
line.
I'm going to mute myself because there'll be like a weird delay. Okay.
Brilliant, cool. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. Let's do that one again. Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. Let's do the second one. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet. Good. So then it moves into the line B, or the third line. And then let's go to the last one. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. Do that again. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. So you notice the length of the phrases, they're nice and long. Now, what you could do if you were struggling with that breath, down by the Sally Gardens, breathe. My love and I did meet, then breathe. But because of the phrase itself and because it's a nice long feel to it, it would be ideal if you could get the whole meaning in the one phrase. And I think just when you get these types of melodies and you just stretch them and it elongates and you just feel the whole thing. And sometimes that's the thing about folk singers, you're in a session in a bar or at a festival or something and someone sings and sometimes the voices seem so rough and ready as if they've been smoking all day and drinking all night, and then they just start singing these huge phrases with such delicate ornamentation, and you're like, whoa, that instrument that they have is just incredible. So it's something that it's a part of folk song, and folk singers learn from a very young age how to phrase because they learn from the lyric. And the text is the first thing. So when I'm teaching this course, it's all about the text. The melody comes and the air is very important because, of course, we want to be able to ornament, we want to be able to sing through these beautiful lines and really enjoy the beautiful harmony involved. But it's all about the story. So if we're not phrasing the lyric properly, it doesn't, it's inauthentic. So let's go into I want to do the A section again, but in the second verse. So in a field by the river, D major. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow white hand. And then let's go to but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. So it elongates there, it slows down a little bit. But really what's important for this phrase is obviously the vowels. But I was young and foolish. So each time it hits that beat. In a field by the river, and on my leaning shore. We really want to move through that. And the rhythm, the meter of the whole line is beautiful. So with that, then we move through foolish and now. So we move, and it just keeps the momentum through that. So let's just do B before we come back and sing the whole thing through. So the B part. She bid, first verse. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. So you can hear how different, how much movement there is in that. I'm just going to clap the rhythm for you so we get a sense of how much it moves. She bid me take love easy. Oh, sorry. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. So there's a lot of movement there, but we don't want to sing it like that. We want to sing through it. So join in with me here. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. Good. Let's go to the second verse. And notice that we have a repetition. She bid me take love easy. Second verse, she bid me take life easy. So the meaning of this, I suppose, she bid me take love easy. Love comes first. And it's a more direct thing. It's more in the moment. But she bid me take life easy is almost like a parting, like a goodbye. May you have a nice life kind of thing. And I think that she bid me take life easy. Such a powerful sentiment. And it's very much a departing, a parting moment in this dialogue between the two. So really emphasize, she bid me take love. And like obviously love is a beautiful vowel, it's a beautiful word, it has this big vowel in it. So we use that. And then we use it, a big vowel on the life. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the wheels. But I was young. Okay, so can we go through the whole thing? D major. Down by, with me, 1, 2, smile. Down by the Sally gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally gardens with little snow white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. Breathe. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand. And on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the wheels. But I was young and foolish, and sometimes work. So usually what I do is, as you heard that time, I actually stop before the last line. But I was young and foolish. And then I breathe, because that's for the first time I'm not finishing the phrase. So it actually has a bit of an impact. Breathe, and now I'm full of tears. So there's also a moment of hesitation. There's a temporal effect, as in there's a break in time. It stops the tempo, but then actually there's an emotional, like a punctuation. And now, and then a rallentando, ritardando, slowing down. Now I'm full, and I can really extend the last line of the phrase, full of tears. And I can really, really get out as much as I can. And that's where I would really connect with the text for my own performance. And I think about how this poet, how this singer must feel. And then I can really get into it there. So just before we sing it the final time, and then we'll move on to the next piece, and we'll have some questions, let's just read the text and bring out any other little literary moments or symbols. So down by the Sally Gardens, the Willow Gardens, the grief, the mourning, the sorrowful gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet. So we've got a description where we can picture her, and the snow white, this snow, this white, this often lily white. We hear this lily reference in a lot of folk songs as well. Lily is the symbol of purity. The snow, the white, is a symbol of purity, innocence. Also maidenhood, so youth often in terms of the lover in this case. So it's usually a young woman, sort of, pure, free from corruption, this idea. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. So we've got a sense of time passing, leaves on the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. So there's this leaves growing on the tree, this time passing, this kind of growth. But then being young and foolish, I was not willing to accept time. I was not willing to grow. So I was too young. So I rejected growth. I rejected time. So it goes back and says, I didn't want to grow. I didn't want to grow old. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand. And so we've changed the tone, changed the scene slightly. So there's a bit of a difference here. And on my leaning shoulder, she laid her snow white hand. So we've got the snow white, the innocence. And now we're seeing another description, another moment, a personal moment. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs. Again, this time passing, this growth, this natural growth. But I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. So we've got the weirs and the river, this kind of water, and then the water of the tears as well. So these little small connections but they kind of make sense together. So there's the meaning coming through. So I think that's the last. Yeah, here's some stylistic before we sing it again. The long phrases. We've got the chamber versus the folk. So the folk song, the folk lyric coming from the 19th century Ulster folk song. Then we've got George Petrie setting this, and then the Benjamin Britten setting it in a sort of chamber context. It was actually published by W.B. Yeats. It was a written poem published, and the melody was then set by a sort of educated musician, which wasn't often the case for folk songs. And then we've got piano versus unaccompanied. So this is usually performed with a piano, like a sort of classical chamber accompaniment. The ornamentation, I'll just explain that as I'm singing it as I go through, but here's the two to look out for. On a leaning shoulder, my love and I did meet. I'm going to do that 3 times more. My love and I did meet. Bit slower, here we go. My love and I did meet. Once more, even slower. My love and I did meet. My love and I, my love and I, my love and I did Next one. As the leaves grow on the trees, as the as the leaves grow, as the leaves grow, as the leaves grow. It's almost like you're dropping something, so it's got its own gravity. So it should fall itself. As the leaves grow, 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 grow. And as you're practicing, just needs to get used to this, giving your voice its own gravity. When we're trying to control the ornaments too much, grow, 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 the voice attaches itself too much to each note. Whereas what we want to achieve is grow, grow. It should be this sense of the vowel, grow. It's very linguistic, you know. It's not melodic. It's more in the word than the notes. I hope that makes sense. But I'll sing it another few times. My love and I did meet. As the leaves grow on, and you can use the G, leaves grow on the trees, as the leaves grow on, grow on, grow on, grow on the... Okay, so let's go back and I'm going to sing it again. Please sing along with me. Here we go. Down by, and I'm going to put lots of ornamentation in for you this time. And we'll talk about it afterwards. Any questions before we move on to the next one? Down by the Sally Gardens, my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. But I, being young and foolish with her, did not agree. In a field by the river, my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs. But I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. All right. Any questions on that before we move on? I just wanted to raise something just before we move on. There's a few videos, and every single one of these is amazing. So enjoy these as you're learning it. Now that we've explored it, listen to them, check out these songs, and they're all very different, but they're brilliant. So these four, they're just all YouTube videos. So when you get the PDF, you can have a click on them. Okay.
Is there a particular arrangement that's kind of the standard for this piece, like that would have
Yeah.
rhythmic and maybe even the ornamentation's not written, right? It's just,
No, ornamentation would generally never be written down, only by um, in a classical maybe context, maybe writing for choir for a soloist. For instance, there's a choral soloist who is doing the sort of ornamentation, the traditional thing, but usually for non-traditional singers, there would be an attempt to score the ornaments. Again, it's very hard even to read those and to get the rhythm correct, as I'm sure you know you've heard. But I would say the standard for this song, I think, would be the Britten version, the Benjamin Britten. And I think that's the one to start with if you're looking to perform it or even to explore it as a performance piece with your students or whatever. John McCormack does a fantastic version of it, but it's a big kind of orchestral kind of thing. You know John McCormack?
by name,
Yeah,
yeah.
he check out his stuff. It's so he was massive. I think he lived in California actually. He was from he's from somewhere like Tipperary. Oh, I should know this. I do know this, but it's gone. Like somewhere in the Midlands, and um he moved over to America and he became like one of the biggest concert performers. And he specialized in classical stuff, but also Irish American songs. And his voice was incredible. So enjoy that one. You can even like get an album of his because he's got some incredible stuff. But I just want to sing before we move on. I want to sing how I would sing this. So I was singing it sort of to teach it, but how I would sing it in a session context. And I want you to listen to how my accent changes to my speaking accent, and also how I change the rhythm and the ornaments. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to go for the second verse. I know I'll go from the chorus, like the B section. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs. But I was young and foolish, and I am full of tears. So that's kind of just going through that very quickly. But what tends to happen in a lot of folk singing is to sing more on the consonants. So young and foolish, now I'm full of tears. And that's something that I kind of have picked up into my own singing. As you can tell, I would have learned this in a more classical context, but from hearing singers and from trying and doing different things on the voice, I found my own ornamentation and how I interpret it. So that gives you an idea, and I'm going to bring that into the next song as well. So Una, if you're all good, I'll move on to the old triangle. So as I said, this is a big Dublin song. It was published in The Queer Fellow, which was a play by Brendan Behan in 1954. A hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. So the Royal Canal is one of the canals in Dublin city centre, goes through, and it would have been very, very busy when Dublin was the second city of the British Empire in the 18th and 19th centuries. But it was also went through a very Republican part of Dublin in the north side inner city, where Brendan Behan was from, this author, and also the canal went by this famous prison called Mountjoy Prison. So Mountjoy would have been full of Republican prisoners and revolutionaries. And so that's the context of the geography and the sort of sociology of how this song would have been received when it was written first. So in the context of revolutionaries, anti-British, in a prison together, singing in a British prison, if you know what I mean. So Brendan Behan, 1923, 1964, so died very young, but was extremely famous, was known unfortunately was very, very associated with his drinking and became known as like a drunk Irish artist, a drunk Irish writer. And in a way, it probably played up to that a lot because of his celebrity, because of his fame. And on Irish TV, on British TV, on American TV, he was known. The audiences loved him. He was a very smart man, a very loquacious man. But yeah, he died very, very young in the end. The Choir Fellow was written in 1954 when he was just 31. Dominic Behan and Dick Shannon. So Dominic Behan was Brendan Behan's brother, and he was also quite well known around Ireland. He was a singer himself. He wrote songs himself, and a lot of the songs that he wrote, Brendan incorporated into his plays, into his works. And Dick Shannon was another friend, a singer of theirs. So Brendan Behan was very much in the folk circles. He was going to the trad sessions in the pubs. He was picking up songs. He was very much in that scene. And Dominic Behan and Dick Shannon were in that scene as well. They were writing these songs. They were singing the old songs from centuries ago. So very direct connection with that. And it said that maybe Dominic actually wrote this song. It was published in Brendan's play, but Dominic wrote it. But then there's also, don't know if it's arguments, but there are theories that Dick Shannon actually wrote it. Sorry, yeah, he created it. Dominic heard it, learned it, and then told it to Brendan, and Brendan took it. So even though Brendan Behan gets the credit because he put it in his play, actually maybe it was more Dominic, and then maybe if it was Dominic, maybe it was actually Dick Shannon, he was just a folk singer from the area, from Dublin. So it's interesting to always remember, folk music, folk songs is always about remembering who sang it and who got it from who. So that lineage is actually very important in folk song. So it's worth sort of mentioning and thinking about. So both the Behans were involved with the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, who were very active in the 1950s. They had a border campaign along the border, Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and a lot of the prisoners were ending up in Mountjoy Prison. And so this play itself, and the other works written by Brendan Behan were very connected to the Republican movement, which was very anti-British. And even though Ireland was an independent state at this time, Northern Ireland was still and remains part of the United Kingdom. And so this was, for a lot of Republicans, even in Dublin, which was 2 hours down the road, was still a big point, a reason to be still involved in the campaign, in the Republican paramilitary campaign against the British state in Ireland, as in on the island of Ireland. So without getting too political, I don't know if you can tell from my accent, but I'm from Northern Ireland, but with a name like Donal, I'm Irish, so the dual identities are very familiar to myself, but that's partly why I think folk songs can be so powerful and so important, because they help us to express our identity. They help us to really explore the history, the social history. And I think a lot of people, a lot of academics, a lot of singers of folk songs and studiers and researchers of folk songs, students of folk songs, they do talk about this social history and how folk song and folklore capture social history. And actually that's very important for any nationality, for any people, for any tribe. So the folk songs are one of the core parts of any culture, and it's great that we can, in Ireland, that we're very aware of that. So we have such a strong tradition. So that's great that we're trying to keep this alive. And so the prison slang involved in the song. Let's just go back to the lyric. We've got a few examples. We've got the old triangle, which is the prison triangle. So usually there's two meanings. The first one is you've got all the cells that were off the central sort of chamber in the prison. So whenever the bell was rung in the central chamber, the sound would travel to all the cells in the different parts. So that usually was like the way that they would be told, lunch was coming up, or they were to go back into their cells or whatever. The lights were going out. But there's also another meaning which I came across. Apparently in prisons, the old triangle is more of a sort of bawdy, lewd reference. which I remember the last time I taught this course, there was a 13-year-old on it, so I didn't want to go into too much detail. But apparently, the old triangle is kind of like a pornographic reference, which people in prisoners would joke about, and sort of a way of maybe um, discrediting the authorities. But that there was a hidden meaning within the play as well. So to get the full meaning, I suppose you need to maybe read The Queer Fellow and maybe get more au fait with prison culture and that kind of thing. But it's interesting that it's got this meaning, even though it's a very, very popular song, a very well-known song, and usually people don't see that layer. They only talk about the old triangle as the literal, like the bell in the actual prison itself. But it's good to get these layers and just even know that there's a reference there, because maybe, you know, over time you meet someone who knows the answer. You know, that's a lot of the times singing these folk songs, you meet someone who knows a bit extra about that song, blah, blah, blah. And
May I
then,
ask a question?
yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
You may have said this, I'm sorry if I missed it. What does queer refer to?
Oh, good question. Una, do you have an answer for that?
Sorry.
It's a
The
funny word.
yeah.
Would
Odd.
would you be familiar? Yeah, Una, that's exactly how I would think of it. So I grew up knowing the word queer. Yeah, it means kind of odd, but actually I've seen it talked about recently, and there's a website you might be interested in called folklore.ie. Folklore.ie it exactly answers exactly those types of questions. What does queer mean? And it has loads of like these little stories about, you know, customs at Halloween and Samhain and stuff. But queer could mean either odd or strange, but also another meaning of it is like great. So if you it's a queer size. If so, say your car is a queer size, it means that it's a very big size.
Mm.
So it's an emphatic word. It's an emphatic adjective. So queer can mean like a big or great or grand. So the queer fella might mean, geez, he's a queer fella means he's a big fella, like he's some fella for one fella. If you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Okay.
it can mean that he's an odd, strange kind of a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it has two meanings, and it depends on the context, and maybe it's explained, you know, in any given context. But yeah, queer can mean either big or great, or odd or strange. So yeah, good question. Um, so Dickie Shannon allegedly wrote the melody, and it was first performed on stage in the Choir Fellow. So he wrote the melody, and then it was actually published in the play, and then it was first performed in 1954. We'll look at the ornamentation on the roll. So I'll sing this for you, and then we'll come back, but we'll look out for the vowels in the chorus. And the likely setting of this is like a kind of raucous, you know, very loud, rousing setting environment. So likely a prison or a pub, and it is one of these big songs that gets sung in a pub. But there's a huge element of storytelling to it, especially in the way people sing it. Usually it's like a soloist for the verse, and then a massive chorus of everybody singing along. So you'll get that idea when I sing it to you now. So here we go. Let me just excuse me for about 40 seconds, okay? I'll put the lyrics on for you. I'm just going to make sure that I've got the right connection and that my connection doesn't come off. So just give me 30 seconds. Now, so it goes like this. Hungry feeling. a hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. Oh, to start the morning, the warden bawling, get up out of bed, you, and clean out your cell. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. Oh, the screw was peeping, and Humpy Gussie was sleeping as he lay there weeping for his gal Sal. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. In the women's prison there are 70 women, and I wish it was with them that I did dwell. Then that old triangle could go jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. So just to explain, we'll go through that again, but just to explain that prison slang, the main meaning of it there is that the old triangle, which is the man going jingle jangle all along the banks of the canal, so the banks of the canal being the woman. So the jingle jangle going up the banks of the canal. So I think it's like a sort of longing, singing from your prison cell through the barred windows up the canal, but wanting to be in a women's prison so you can meet the women there. So that's kind of the nature, the kind of rousing bodiness of it. But yeah, that would be the meaning. Now, not a lot of people would talk about that. They wouldn't think of the song like that, but it's more to do with the actual, the sound of the bell and the Republican nostalgia, this kind of romanticism of the prisoners. That would be the main meaning, the main sentiment in this. But there is that kind of sexual connotation in it as well. So let's go. Let's take it down a wee bit. Just go line by line. Hungry feeling. Hungry feeling. Hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, came o'er me stealing, came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing, and the mice were squealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell, in my prison cell, in my prison cell. Let's go for the whole thing twice. Hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell. Again. Hungry feeling came o'er me stealing, and the mice were squealing in my prison cell. And that old triangle went jingle jangle. Let's do that. And that old triangle went jingle jangle, and that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal, all along the banks of the Royal Canal. canal. So you hear that rhythm. So the meter is it's not always the same. It's very dependent on the words, and there's nice space for you to interpret each line as you want. Let's do the second line. Oh, is that key okay? Or do you want me to move up or down? Is that okay? Oh, to start the morning, the warden bawling, get up out of bed, you, and clean out yourself. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. So you're starting to feel the meter. It's this kind of oh da 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 ba da ba da, and clean out your bar. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. And usually you would slow that last line down, elongate that. All along the banks of the Royal Canal. It's all about that, using the vowels more than the rhythms, if you know what I mean. Oh, the screw was peeping, and Humpy Gussie was sleeping, as he lay there weeping. Now, I always sing he lay there. As he lay, as he lay weeping, as he lay weeping, as he lay weeping, as he lay weeping for his gal Sal. And that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. And you usually really go for that C. Royal Canal, the old Royal Canal. In the women's prison there are 70 women, and I wish it was with them that I did dwell. And often you would have this kind of rubato on 70. In the women's prison there are 70 women, and I wish it was with them that I did dwell. Then that old triangle could go jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. And often there's a repeat of the last line. All along the banks of the Royal Canal. So the thing with folk songs and folk singing is it's up to you to interpret. Now, often you would sing it the way you've heard it. So traditionally, if you were, before the internet, before recorded music, you would have heard it like your auntie sang it in the pub, or you would have heard it like your dad sang it at home, or, you sing it with your siblings and you all learn it the same way. Whereas now with recorded music, with the internet, with you can hear anyone from anywhere singing anything at any time, basically. It's up to you to interpret it. So that's how I'm singing it. And again, I'm not singing that totally because there's a lot of changing in it. So sometimes it changes every single time. But there are some renditions. There's one where Brendan, or I think it's, let me actually get this up for you because I want to show you, is it Dominic or Brendan sings this? Hopefully it's not an ad.
This is Golga.
Hey.
This is Golga's personal trimmer.
Sharp
Sorry.
rock and whole forest.
Thank goodness for evolution.
Sorry about that.
Well, this other song was written
Can you hear that?
by a person who will never hear it recorded because he's not the possessor of a gramophone. He's pretty much of a tramp. A hungry feeling came on me stealing, and the mice they were squealing in my prison cell. And that old triangle is when jingle jangle along the banks of the Royal Canal.
So that's a version from the author there. And he talks about, interesting, he talks about the person who wrote it, possibly Dickie Shannon, who we've heard about. So there's a Dubliners version, and then Tourist Walk is actually a version of mine singing with my three brothers. So you can hear that. We did that a few years ago, and that's again 4-part harmony. But the Dubliners do probably the definitive version of it. So I don't know if you've heard of the Dubliners, Terry, but they're very, very famous. Yeah, they're famous in America, famous all over Europe. So just to finish up then the last few minutes, we know the authors and or composers of these songs. Let me just get this back up again. So, and because they're 20th century, they're not technically traditional in the same way that, you know, a 19th century poem, or sorry, 19th century folk song might be, or 18th century or 16th century. But in what is known as the folk process, both these songs have been adopted into the common repertoire. So these are both very, very prominent songs in the folk tradition, possibly because they're so recent. They haven't, you know, they haven't died out just yet. But they're also very, both Brendan Behan and W.B. Yeats were very famous. They did a lot, along with James Joyce and George Bernard Shaw, and these very, very well-respected Irish writers writing in the English language to give Ireland a sense of identity about itself in an artistic sense and a literary sense. So I think part of that sense is why these particular songs are so famous and so popular, which is an interesting thing anyway. It's how people choose to express themselves, how people choose to adopt the folk process. But over time, a song can be considered a folk song organically if enough singers arrange, perform, and or record it, and it's considered to reflect part of their own heritage. So that's where we're going to start this course, and we're going to look at more older songs, songs that are more authentically traditional in the sense of, you know, maybe unknown, passed through the generations without any writer in any famous person involved. So their assignment, if you choose to accept it, is to record yourself singing both these songs. Now you can pick any key you like, or you can listen back to this. I'm going to send you an unlisted YouTube video, which is just this. You can watch it back. You can fast forward to the parts that you find interesting, fast forward to the part where I'm singing, doing the ornamentation. And then you can send it to me. Now, the best way to do that is, I suppose, you can send via WhatsApp if you use WhatsApp. Otherwise, you can send via email, is fine. Whatever you prefer. Do you have a particular preference, guys?
It's easier to send like an MP4 file just due to the amount of space it takes and stuff. Is that okay, or do you want it video as well?
No, just audio is perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you happy with that, Una?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool. So any questions before we finish?
I just had one question. So this last song, The Old Triangle, is strophic, right? It's like a strophic form.
Yes. So you've got the chorus coming back each time. And usually, like I said, I'll go back to it here. The verse is the first 4 lines. Hungry feeling, came on stealing, mice were squealing, my prison cell. Chorus, the old triangle, jingle jangle, long back, or to begin in the morning. And usually this is a soloist. You know, the way you'll see it performed, and in context, in a social context, people usually take it in turns, and there's a real storytelling element where it's quite dramatic. You know, people will adopt characters and all these things. But yeah, so the chorus is here, and that old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal.
So in Irish folk songs, is there kind of a predominance of a certain form, or
there
or
are
are they
lots.
replaced?
Yeah, I'd say there are lots of different forms with very, very long heritage. You know, with lots of heritage.
Mhm.
The one that you would, I think, the Down by the Sally Gardens is a very, very common form.
Mhm.
But there are also ones which would be similar, but they would have a repeating, like a last line that comes in. So it would be just verse by verse, but the last line is a chorus. So it's just the last line of the chorus. Sorry, the last line of the verse is a commodity. Everybody sings it,
Okay.
rather than a chorus in itself. It doesn't have a form of a chorus. So I'd say those two would be the most common for our purposes. But interestingly, you'll see as we go through the songs, we're going to do, I think, 6 or 7 songs through this course, maybe 8. So you'll see all the different forms, and it's good. Yeah, I really enjoy looking at the prominence of the different forms. But yeah, you've got verse, verse, and then in this one you've got verse, chorus. So yeah, we can keep that in mind. I think that's a question to keep coming back to every single week. But I can also give you an example of some different forms anyway, just to let you know so you can see them when they
Okay.
come up. All right,
All right.
Terry.
Great. Thank you so
So-
much.
Brilliant. I will send an email with all the stuff that you need, the PDF and the video. And yeah, we'll go from there from next week. All right, guys.
See you next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See you guys.
Bye-bye.